Hello, my name is Stephen Newsel, and I am the gentleman that Mark Ludwig was speaking about in his recent live stream video on Facebook. So I felt that I really needed to do a rebuttal because I felt like a lot of his characterizations of me were completely unfair and unjust. We only spoke for 2 minutes and 51 seconds, so I really find it hard that he was able to characterize me in such a short time. He really didn't listen to anything I had to say, and he really kind of spoke down to me and wasn't really willing to listen to what the issues were in Alabama. It was kind of disheartening. But he said he didn't know who I was. I've been a family rights advocate in Alabama for 20 years. I was one of the second generation of family rights advocates. I held a leadership position in the Alabama Family Rights Association for most of that time. I ran for public office back in 2010 myself. I worked 5 political campaigns where I served as leadership positions in many of them. I held very large political rallies. I had meetings with governors, legislators. I was really in the thick of it. I ran the chapter of Alabama Family Rights Association in Tuscaloosa for a little while. My vice president was the head of the University of Alabama School of Social Work. And our other 2 officers were both mothers who were doctorates in the School of Psychology and Social Work. They were very beneficial in doing a lot of equal shared parenting studies, and they did that in conjunction with the Alabama Family Rights Association and went across the country making presentations for that. So I really have been in this fight a very, very long time. I know what I'm talking about. I know what the issues are. When Mark talks about relationships, we really forged a lot of really good relationships. I had a lot of good friends that were legislators. I had good relationships with governors. So much so that our team it was about 2014, so it's been a little over 10 years already. But we actually had an equal shared custody bill that had the majority of Alabama legislators as sponsors. There was no way it could not pass. We had done all the groundwork, we had built up all the relationships, and at the very end, the chairman of the Judiciary Committee killed it single-handedly. Mark kind of brings up people that get in the legislators' face and oppose them, and I don't think he understands what's going on. He doesn't understand that a lot of times these legislators, they characterize family rights advocates as such because they don't want to face the issues. And they're very uncomfortable. A lot of the legislators have told me personally that they support our work, but that they can't act because they're beholden by the Speaker of the House or certain high-level political officials within their party or within the legislature. And they tell me straight up, they're like, hey, I support you. I would sponsor this bill. I would help you pass it. But I can't because these people oppose what you're doing. And if I step on their toes, I'm not going to get anything on the calendar. And we've seen that. We've seen legislators be threatened who stand up for equal custody. We had a senator, a state senator a while back that was in our corner and very, very public about supporting us. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he had all these allegations publicized, heinous allegations, publicized about him. And when he backed off, those allegations went away. We've had examples of that. We've had family rights advocates that were threatened with arrest for no reason at all. We've had, right now, in Shelby County, we have judges telling litigants that they can't talk to their legislators. I mean, there's a lot of bad, corrupt stuff that has gone on in this 20-year process. And the opposition is the same people. It is the Alabama Law Institute, the Alabama Bar Association, because those 2 groups represent judges and lawyers, and they make a lot of money from the chaos of family court. And they're represented in the legislature by the Judiciary Committee chairman and the Speaker of the House now. And that's the facts of it. So for 20 years, we have been fighting. We almost got a bill passed. We got our president, Kenneth Pascal, elected in the legislature, and we really thought that that would help further things. But it's that kind of, a lot of legislators didn't like the fact that he was standing up to them, and he wouldn't back down from advocating for children unselfishly. And that's the thing. None of the people that I have worked with in Alabama have ever had anything personal to gain, not even in our own cases. In my situation, I won my court case, and I had a good relationship with my ex. So there was no issue. I had no personal vendetta, or I wasn't a sore court loser, as the legislator opposition likes to call us. I just care about children. I care about doing what's right because it's so important to our society. And that's why I'm willing to put money and I'm willing to put effort into this. And Mark said he didn't know me, but a legislator put us in contact together, I guess it was about a year ago. I wanted to throw money into his cause and help him, and he wouldn't listen. It was a very short conversation, just like this last one I had with him, 2 minutes 51 seconds. And then he characterized me as brash and abrasive, and dishonest, which I find troubling. Anyone who knows me knows that I am of an upstanding character, that I am completely selfless, and that I will fight tooth and nail for what's right for other people. I don't even care about myself. And I have put more money, sweat, tears, blood into this fight that I have no personal gain in, just because I care about children and other fathers and mothers. So what's going on right now? So that's kind of the background. So Kenneth Pascal is the former president of the Alabama Family Rights Association. He's a representative out of Shelby County, and he's been getting beat up down in Montgomery trying to pass family rights legislation. And I think it's very simple. The legislation's not that complicated. It's just wanting the starting point to be at equal. If there's domestic violence or issues or drugs, then the judge should be able to move from that. That's what we've always tried to do with our legislation. Very simple. And we've also worked with the opposition to craft legislation in a compromisable manner. We have sat down for several years with the Alabama Law Institute saying, hey, what do you guys want? What can we do to move closer to you, and what can you do to move closer to us? And we have actually created a bill that was a compromise bill, and then when we filed it, they went around and shot it down, even though it was a bill that they agreed to. So this is the kind of stuff that we're dealing with that Mark doesn't understand, because he doesn't understand that we're not radicals. We're not in the politicians' faces, that we've been at the table the whole entire time. Now, with each legislative session, every 2 years, you get new faces. And the problem is most of the new faces are not pro-family rights. They're pro-attorneys and pro-judges. And the ones that support us, again, are getting just stiff-armed by political corruption. Because most of this has to do with Title 4D and the money that the state gets. I've sat down with legislators. They said, hey, the problem is we view this as free money. They told me that straight up. But anyways, we've had these conversations with the legislators. We have built these relationships with the legislators. The problem is that after 20 years, it hasn't worked, because every time we get close, they shoot it down. And we really, now is the time to tell the story and get out to the public what is going on, who's opposing it, and why. And so I find out that Mark is coming down to Alabama for the beginning of the legislative session, but none of the family rights people knew about it. He hadn't been contacting with us, and we hear from other legislators that there's a family rights advocate, family rights group that's supporting the Alabama Law Institute bill, HB 19, which is really, really bad. The bill sounds kind of good, but words matter in the legal world. It's everything. And so in this bill, it says that there shall be a rebuttable presumption that it's in the best interest for the children to have joint legal custody. not physical. In fact, they took the word physical out of the existing law. So now it's in the best interest for the kids not to have physical custody, but to have joint legal custody. Case law has already stated that joint legal custody doesn't really matter because according to case precedents, the parent with physical custody has the final say in all matters. So to begin with, this law is kind of bad because now it's saying it's in the best interest not to provide joint physical custody. The second problem with this bill is that it says that it's in the best interest for children to have frequent and continuing contact with both parents. Wow, that sounds really good. Frequent and continuing. What does that mean to you? What does frequent and continuing contact mean to you? To me, it means as much time as possible, right? But to the courts, it means every other weekend. That's what the case precedence has established. Frequent and continuing contact, which has already been in the statute, means every other weekend. So that is very bad. Now you're saying that it's in the best interest, it's a presumption that's in the best interest for children to have joint legal, not physical, and every other weekend. So that's really hard now because now you can't say it's in the best interest for the kid to have more than that because it's already presumed that the best interest is standard visitation. So that's where HB 19 is really bad. And so we find out that Mark's coming down here. So it is kind of a crisis because the Speaker of the House is ramming this bill through fast paced. And there's no opposition. We don't have a grassroots movement anymore. Unfortunately, they beat us. After 20 years of fighting in Alabama for family rights, they beat us because most people just aged out, gave up, or died. Many of our leaders of the family rights organization, unfortunately, have passed away. But so Mark's coming down. We're like, wait a minute. Why isn't he talking to us? Why isn't he talking to any of the legislators that are pro equal custody? And who is he talking to? So that's kind of what the crisis was. They're jamming this bill through the House. They plan the legislators are telling us they plan to get it passed by the end of the month. And so we're trying to stop it, or at least make it not as bad. And so I did kind of start out saying, hey, we're in a crisis. We need your help. Help us, Mark. Help us. Since you got these people's ears, why don't you use that? But unfortunately, the people that he's talking to are very opposed to equal shared parenting. And I feel like that they're embracing him so that they can say to the public, hey, we have the family rights groups, Mark, is supporting us. Or at least he's not opposed to what we're doing. I know Mark said that he wasn't supporting or pushing the bill, but the implication is, at least the perception of some of the legislators, are that he is supporting these efforts for HB 19. Whether he's talked about it or not, that's what has the rumor that's going around. So, true or not, he's definitely not working with us, and I don't know why. I don't know why he wouldn't work with our legislators and help do with what we want to do. Because if this just passes, then the ball has been moved backwards. And we've just fought too hard. I don't want to see that for families, but I mean, I have no skin in the game. My kids I had equal custody with my kids. I was lucky, and I want everyone to be as lucky as I was. But I don't understand. Some people get into this movement and they just like to sit at the table. They like to rub elbows with important people. And I'm not saying that that's the case with Mark, but I mean, you got to help us. I mean, if you're the voice and you're starting to get these connections, use them. Work with the people. But right now, it's like, we have organizations that are trying to get up and running in Alabama that we need help with, and we don't have boots on the ground to do it. And so that's where someone like Mark with a following can be beneficial. There's a lot of people on his page that are from Alabama. We're trying to get the National Parents Organization spooled up in Alabama. We need those people to go join the National Parents Organization, represent them in the interest of shared custody, and get something done. But just popping into the state without telling the people who've been doing it for 20 years, it's just it looks bad. The legislators, it's not, and then for us to be characterized as people that are in the legislator's face and doing all this, I mean, that's just not true. And the criticism against Representative Kenneth Pascal by other legislators is also not true. Anyone who knows that man knows he's probably the most honest stand-up guy that you would ever meet. And he's done this unselfishly for years, to his own peril. So it's just unfortunate that we don't have enough rallying people to stand up with people like Kenneth and say, hey, you can't do this. You can't call us these names. You can't say we're radicals or sore court losers, because it's just not true. But I've worked with National Parents Organization. I funded a third-party study that we did to see what the voters wanted. And 90% of the voters supported shared equal custody in Alabama. So the question is, why don't we have it? According to the Administrative Office of the Courts, 80% of fathers get standard visitation or less. Or less. 80%. That means if you go to family court, you only have a 20% chance of seeing your kids more than every other weekend. And if HB 19 passes, it's going to be less than 1%. I can tell you that, because they're trying to keep fathers away from their children, primarily fathers, so that they can drive up child support awards, so they can get more Title IV-D funding. They also want to keep parents fighting each other in the court, so that the lawyers can make money. And it's sad and it's sick and it's got to stop. But you can't like coddle legislators, because they're going to just coddle you back, and they're going to be happy you're at the table. We've sat at the table with them for a long time. They'll have you at the table. You'll just have to sit there and be quiet, but they'll have you at the table. But I think we're beyond that. The strategy that Mark has advocated in his video, we've done that. We've done more than he realizes. I mean, I've worked with organizations all over the country. Children's Rights Initiative for Sharing Parents Equally. We had big purple buses coming through Alabama, stopping at the courthouses, getting the message out on shared parenting. Worked with Torm House, with his civil rights organization. Worked with the American Coalition for Fathers and Children. We worked with William Fain, helped premiere his movie, A Father's Rights. I mean, we've been in the thick of it for a long, long time. We know what we're talking about. We know what's going on in Alabama. And more importantly, we do know the law. I'm an airline pilot, captain, not a lawyer. But I am smart. I used to work on nuclear reactors. I was in the Navy. I can read and I can understand. And I've sat down with the lawyers. I've sat down with the judges. I understand case law. I've been in the thick of it. And I represented myself in my case. And I did very, very, very well. And I just want to see everyone have the same opportunities so that our children don't suffer, because society suffers. And Mark, if you want to talk again, I'll be happy to talk with you. But you gotta like listen. You can't just say you know everything and everyone else doesn't. We know what's going on in Alabama. We understand the landscape. We've been here for over 20 years fighting this. We have lawyers and judges. If you don't believe what I'm saying, you think I'm disingenuous on my interpretation, we can sit down and have those conversations with them, and maybe you'll trust them better. But we've done that in the legislature before. We had lawyers and judges. We had judges from Kentucky that were pushing the shared parenting bill up there. We had judges come down here to speak to the legislators. The problem is no one wants to hear it. And there's a lot of history that needs to be told, and a lot of things that we have done in ways that the opposition has really stiff-armed the movement that really needs to be told, because a lot of it's a violation of citizen rights. Just like right now, the judges are telling litigants not to talk to legislators. That's really bad. If you have the judicial system telling people not to talk to their legislators. But that's a lot of stuff that we need to fix. We need to call out. We need to shine light on it, and we need to get legislators on board. So that's my rebuttal. I'm sorry I ranted, but I'm in Puerto Rico, and I need to get back to the States. So wish y'all a fine day. God bless.